Welcome to the November 11th Saturday virtual meetup of the NMRA-PCR Coast Division. We have a couple of items today before we get to kind of general discussions and coast modeling. First, an auction announcement. Just so everybody makes sure, Sunday, December 3rd is the auction. It will be in Alameda. Again, starting at about 10:30 to noon. We're going to have a morning clinic at 10 or 10:30-ish, well, about around that time-ish. So we will have one clinic at the event is the plan at this point. Lunch will be on your own. We're still trying to figure out if we can do something, but plan on this point that lunch will be on your own. One comment, Craig sent me an email and said he has had more requests for auction cards so far last week as we had in total at the last auction. So there's a significant uptick in terms of items coming. I'm hoping we'll have a significant uptick in terms of people coming as well. So it should be a fun auction on December 3rd. One of the two things I really want to talk about today is the train shows. There are two great train shows coming up in our division over the next few weeks. There's December 9th and 10th in Pleasanton and February 24th, 25th in San Jose. So we'll be doing at both those. I got two tables in Pleasanton. So the concept is to put up on one of the tables the display we had. This is actually a display as it was set up at O-Scale West. What you see on the right there is the new banner we're doing. What we're doing is we're starting a kind of real focus around recruiting as well as selling the convention at these events. So what we've done is, from an NMRA recruiting perspective, we've got the $10 rail pass. So VCR pays half of the rail pass if someone wants to buy a rail pass. If someone's interested in the convention, for NMRA members, it's $10 off the early bird registration at the event. For non-members, if they register at the early bird registration rate, we'll include a rail pass with their registration. So non-members can register at the early bird rate and get a membership so they can go to the convention. So one of the things really very much looking for is folks to let me know if you're interested in attending, working a shift. Kind of the way I see it is there's four shifts. There's a morning, afternoon shift on Saturday and Sunday. You folks will sign up for one or two shifts, not plan on working the whole day necessarily, just 4 hours. The cool thing is you get a free admission to the train show if you go do it. So if you come work in the morning, you can hang out in the afternoon, check out the modular layouts, buy some stuff or whatever. So I don't know if is anyone interested in participating in this or I don't know. So Jesse, I'll put you on the list. Anyone else put on the list?
Sign me up for February. I'm going to be out of town in December.
Okay. So Earl in February.
Hey, Phil, this is Bob. I can do something on the 9th.
So Bob on the 9th. And Jesse, both days or one day?
Well, right now, put me down for both December and February.
Okay, cool. And then Earl in February.
In December, I'll be splitting my time, Phil, with running the O-Scale layout and helping.
I have three commitments because we're doing the modular layout there as well. So I'll be there just kind of running around like a chicken with one's head cut off.
Yeah. Hey, Phil,
so anyway,
Phil, put me down in February as well.
Cool. Hey, I may send out on the email a sign up and do it online and let everybody sign up so kind of get it together, make it easier.
Bill, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, you can sign me up for December 10 in the afternoon.
Cool. Yeah, like I said, I think probably the best way, I'll send something out. I'll make sure I've got you guys down if I don't see you that I know are interested. So cool. I think it should be a lot of fun. And and by the way, one of the things we've been doing is trying to do, you get to do your inner salesman Are you a model railroader? Oh, are you an NMRA member? Oh, you're not. Why not? The best value in model railroading. I mean, for $10, you can get a rail pass and you can join all these wonderful things here, and basically get your opportunity to really sell. Nobody looks happy about that.
I'm good with that.
Okay, so we'll continue on. The next thing I wanted to just talk a little bit about here is, and unfortunately, I did want to do one thing before we do that. I wanted to, before we go to this, hang on. I wanted to pull up here. Oh, I'm sorry. Huh. I shut my Chrome down and it's really complaining now. So I wanted to show you guys this video. So I'm gonna have to reshare. I apologize. This will take them. I have to reshare because I've got to I got to turn sound on. I apologize. So this is the video we put together. So the PCR is really kind of focusing on trying to get this done. So I'll play this, see what you guys, I'll tell you guys what you think about this.
Becoming an NMRA member is the best way to get the most out of model railroading. The NMRA, the Pacific Coast region and our divisions welcome you to a great community of model railroaders here in Northern California. Being an NMRA member comes with great benefits that will dramatically enhance your model railroading experience and elevate your modeling results. A big part of model railroading is learning. As a model railroader, you are always learning new skills, refining techniques, doing research, and more. Learning is always part of a model railroader's journey. Being an NMRA member will accelerate your model railroading learning. You will get to participate in hands-on clinics at meets and conventions, see models and techniques to emulate, meet great modelers and have them help you and more. Visiting existing layouts and modelers will help you decide on your path in building your model railroad empire. The NMRA is home to amazing model railroaders that can inspire your modeling to new heights. With layout tours, model contests, displays, and more, you will get to see and be inspired for your own modeling. There is nothing like seeing a layout or model to help with your own modeling goals and plans. Modeling inspiration can come from a single scene or a beautiful room-sized layout. As an NMRA member, you will have great opportunities to meet other modelers. You can meet modelers with the same interests, both in modeling and prototypes. If you are building a layout, the NMRA is a great way to meet other modelers in your area to build a network to get your layout built. Many NMRA members report they have found long-term friendships and fellowship through their NMRA membership. Join us, we are looking forward to meeting you. Being an NMRA member is a great way to save money. The NMRA Partner Program has over 50 model railroad vendors, shops, and events. NMRA members get special access to events and activities. And having access to the large body of local model railroad knowledge will help you avoid the expensive mistakes and the pitfalls of the hobby. As a model railroader, you are always looking for a great deal. Joining the NMRA today is the best investment you can make in your model railroading future. Ask about the special membership promotions available today.
Hey, Phil, I have two comments, if I may.
Sure.
I think it's missing one important point that I would get in there about dealing with buying from NMRA partners. You get discounts.
Yeah, I noticed that the discount got left off of that. I realized that I need to add that back in.
Yeah. So, and also I think the pitch of the voice is a tad too low, just a
That
little tiny bit bassy. And I don't know if that's intentional, but
that's the voice. That's the voice I chose.
yeah. Okay. Okay. But the,
Yeah.
the discount one is the one that I thought
Yeah,
was.
the discount. I had it in there and somehow it got left out. I changed it and it got left out. So
How long
cool.
is it? How long is it?
A couple of minutes.
Like 2.5, 2.
Hang on. I don't even
I
know.
actually thought it was great overall. It touched on a lot of key points, and I only saw the one thing that was missing.
It's 236.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's intended to run at the trade shows, at the train shows. So
Was I the only one
that's-
that didn't see a video?
you
No, I
didn't see it?
I never saw a video. I saw
I heard
the
it.
screen.
Yeah,
I heard it.
I didn't see the
words
video
were great.
either.
Yeah, wait, whoa, that's weird. Hang on.
Just heard it, didn't see it.
Okay, hang on. If you didn't see it, because you need to see it. So hang on.
There were
Let me see.
dancing girls that I missed.
Let me try something here. Hang on. I'll do it this way and see. That was shared as my screen, and for some reason, maybe it didn't share right.
That's what we
haven't-
saw, your screen. We saw the desktop.
Maybe I shared the wrong desktop. That may have been my problem. Hang on.
Well, the main thing is we missed all the Garden Railway scenes, right, Joyce?
Yes, definitely.
Well, there were a bunch of scenes that you guys missed yourselves in them, quite
Yeah.
frankly.
Yeah, just the
Um,
voice by itself is okay, but it's not inspiring. That you definitely want to see some images.
Yeah, no, I'm sorry. Hang on.
Now, the major point though, you don't want to show pictures of us because that'll scare people off.
Actually, I don't think
Okay.
so. I think it makes you approachable.
Becoming an NMRA member is the best way to get the most out of model railroading. The NMRA, the Pacific Coast region and our divisions welcome you to a great community of model railroaders here in Northern California. Being an NMRA member comes with great benefits that will dramatically enhance your model railroading experience and elevate your modeling results. A big part of model railroading is learning. As a model railroader, you are always learning new skills, refining techniques, doing research, and more. Learning is always part of a model railroader's journey. Being an NMRA member will accelerate your model railroading learning. You will get to participate in hands-on clinics at meets and conventions, see models and techniques to emulate, meet great modelers and have them help you and more. Visiting existing layouts and modelers will help you decide on your path in building your model railroad empire. The NMRA is home to amazing model railroaders that can inspire your modeling to new heights. With layout tours, model contests, displays, and more, you will get to see and be inspired for your own modeling. There is nothing like seeing a layout or model to help with your own modeling goals and plans. Modeling inspiration can come from a single scene or a beautiful room-sized layout. As an NMRA member, you will have great opportunities to meet other modelers. You can meet modelers with the same interests, both in modeling and prototypes. If you are building a layout, the NMRA is a great way to meet other modelers in your area to build a network to get your layout built. Many NMRA members report they have found long-term friendships and fellowship through their NMRA membership. Join us, we are looking forward to meeting you. Being an NMRA member is a great way to save money. The NMRA Partner Program has over 50 model railroad vendors, shops, and events. NMRA members get special access to events and activities. And having access to the large body of local model railroad knowledge will help you avoid the expensive mistakes and the pitfalls of the hobby. As a model railroader, you are always looking for a great deal. Joining the NMRA today is the best investment you can make in your model railroading future. Ask about the special membership promotions available today.
So
Great
that's
job.
the side. So yeah,
Much better with the video.
yeah, it runs when it's running in the in the thing, it works pretty well because basically what we've got is we got the convention video and that video, and they kind of, they run continuously and alternate. So it's nice to have.
The phrase, as a model railroader, you're always looking for a great deal. There's something about that that doesn't sit well with me. I don't know what it is. Maybe you've got to. I understand the intent, and it's absolutely true, but maybe a better choice of words, unless it's just me.
Make your hobby dollar go further.
I've said that makes more sense.
Cool. Good comments.
And then Phil, the early on in there, it talks about model, you'll meet other model railroaders who will help you. And the implication is you can, hey, come over and help me do this. As opposed to help you, how about help you learn?
Well, I think there's an implication to things. There's learning. So the thought process here, the learning side is you learning.
Right.
The friendship and fellowship is the idea that, yeah, you may start a round robin group where,
right,
and that meet people to do that. So that was kind of the extension of, how do you extend. So by the way, the idea was to try to do, that capturing only 3 or 4 things to talk about and trying to, make a point and then extrapolate it. So.
Right. Okay, that's just
Cool.
what it's worth.
Great inputs though. So the last thing I wanted to talk about was the event up in Sacramento. I don't know if was anybody else able to get up there?
Not I. Ooh, that was a nice picture for the moment we saw it.
Sorry, I started to share it and then I misshared it. There we go. So this was.
Oops. We've lost audio also, Phil.
Wow, that was weird. Okay. So basically this is the roundhouse, and what they did was they pulled out, I think there was an F7 sitting here in the middle, and they pulled that out and made some room, and there were, I think, 6 modular layouts. There were 5 layouts here, and then there was one smaller one back over here on the side. So this was an HO layout. I think it's for guys from up in Marin. And this was a father and son that built an N-scale dog bone layout that I don't think they'd ever taken anywhere before. Very interesting layout. Kind of shows what you can do in N-scale. One side had cities, the other side was just kind of like a countryside track through it. This is the Baz Boys Z-scale. This is the Southern California O-scale guys, and this is the Bay Area N-scale layout. The Primo guys here with setup. So it's kind of a nice setup. Wasn't terribly well publicized, in terms of getting people there, to the event. There didn't seem to be a huge additional number of people versus normal visitors to the museum. But I think it's good because next year I think it'll be probably quite a bit larger from the museum perspective. I think they'll promote it a bit more. So it's kind of a fun event. And like I said, we did a video and it literally, yes. Yeah, Jesse.
And it's just an offhanded question. The NMRA at one point was going to move to Sacramento, their offices. Did that die a quiet death, or?
Yeah, I imagine it did.
Okay, that's all.
I don't know. I had never heard it, but I imagine it probably did because, the reality is they've got people that are there back in wherever Tennessee, and that you got to change. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not worth it. I'm sorry to interrupt.
No worries. No worries. So I don't know if anybody's interested. Do you want to see the video? I think it's about probably, oh shoot, it's pretty long. It's 50 minutes. So I'm just going to put the link up to it.
Thank you.
Just do it that way. It's basically, there's some interesting parts to it. It's basically done with kind of a flyover video of all the modules, so get a pretty good view of all the modules. So I think that's kind of it from perspective of things planned. It's open it up for people to talk. Auction on the 3rd of December.
Right.
Obviously need volunteers for the auction. I'm just going to kind of this year time, I think we'll just wing it and we'll organize when we get there.
Phil, I have a 4-month-long commitment for all day that day. I am not going to be available. I'm very sorry.
Okay.
Yeah,
yeah. Anyone who's willing to volunteer at the auction, come and let Jer know or myself know, and we'll figure it out when we get there that day.
It's a good look. It's a good venue.
Yeah, it's a good play venue. Got to call and make sure we got somebody there when we show up this time.
Oh yeah. Oh, that was bad.
Anyway, so anybody been doing any interesting modeling going on? Or anything else that's interesting for that matter?
Come here. I'm going to Italy.
You're going to Italy, I know. So where are you going in Italy?
We're going back, actually. We're going south this time. Sicily, and then over to the mainland, to Bari and south of Naples, Amalfi Coast, that sort of stuff. And if you believe the newspaper or whatever it is, there may be a volcano, and then I'll be able to go to the convention.
Etna's been busy.
Jesse, I've got one question for you. If you're going to go to the Amalfi Coast, go to Salerno and take the ferry that goes around to each of the little towns rather than the bus. You'll save yourself a lot of grief.
All right, thank you.
I did it in 2018, and it was helpful.
Yeah, I'll try that. Or at least I'll put it on the list of.
Yeah.
David, you mentioned my video of my layout. If you want to use a little portion of it or the whole thing, it's 5 minutes long, a little over 5 minutes, and it's on my band's website. I think you've probably seen it. And it was done by a professional videographer for the National Garden Railway magazine. So it's pretty good quality, and you could take snippets of it if you wanted, or use the whole thing.
So this is for putting in the convention promotion?
Yeah, you mentioned, that you didn't have a video of my layout, and it's available to you on my band's website, which I think you have the link to, or I can tell it's freshpickedband.com.
I think Phil is scribbling as you speak.
Fresh picked, like picked music, you pick.
Put it in the chat, Joyce. That's the better thing to do. Throw it in the chat.
Okay.
Anyway, while Joyce is typing, I'm going to show you my continued descent into O-scale hell.
Oh,
Wow.
Nice.
so why is this hellish? That doesn't look hellish to me.
Have you priced that stuff?
Oh, well, expensive and hellish is two different things. Yeah, how much did that cost?
430 something. It is very lightly run, which is the only reason I got it, because a lot of O-scale stuff, 2-rail, has been run to death. But this
does it have anything besides the shell?
Well, when you go to pick it up and it doesn't want to come up off the ground, yeah,
let's see it again, kidding. David. Let's put it up. Hold it up again, David. Now we get spotlighted so we can see it. So this is a
beautiful.
What is it? It's a what make is it?
Atlas RSD 7/15. It's part partly because I'm concerned because the O-scalers in Pleasanton are running short on motive power for shows. And I'm going to get this thing running 100% and then put it into full service, hoping that the details and the ladders and stuff don't get broken off of it. That's the one thing that makes me nervous. But yeah, they need more locomotives, and some of their pool stuff has just literally been run to death. It's just been, you know, thousands of hours of running during shows over decades, and you can't get parts for them anymore. And so I ran across this one, and since the club has one that is a good runner, even though it's heavily worn, I thought it'd be worth investing in this thing. I have to go through it though. When I got it, there's a screw floating around the bottom of the case, and it's like, well, where did that screw come from? Plus checking the lubrication and just making sure it's 100% ready and behaving, you know, because I want it to be a reliable runner. I think you guys know how that is. It's, to some degree, it's almost not so much how it looks, it's that it will pull trains and keep pulling trains, you know, over the long term, which is what I'm always after with my locomotives. I'm less impressed with super detailing and more impressed with when you call it out for service, it's ready to go. It's gonna do its job. Anyway, so that's my model railroading activity. I will be bringing the Christmas train, O-scale Christmas train, to Pleasanton for the December 9/10 show. I've built Phil's seen it, a train with Lionel cars and Atlas stuff with lighted, and the locomotive has little garlands on it, and you name it, you know, full bore Christmas train. And I will run it at the Pleasanton show 9/10. So looking forward to that. Who else has something?
I have something small.
Well,
So I'm working on a pair of Wiseman Carter ON30 swing motion trucks. And so I've just got the castings cleaned up and ready for assembly. And these are going to go underneath a boxcar kit.
is that ON30?
Yes.
Or it is it's hard to tell scale. It is ON30.
It's
Okay.
ON30, and they're Wiseman model services kits, and they're very nice little truck kits. So something small.
Smaller. I can go smaller yet on trucks. I was quite pleasantly surprised with products from EVE MODEL, Eve model. I needed some replacement trucks because I've picked 1987 as my year, and so I've got cars that had friction bearing trucks under them, and I wanted to try to find some reasonably priced drop-in replacement trucks, not with wheel sets, just the trucks. And Eve Model is a German company. Now, the stuff was made in China, but the quality of the trucks that I got like 24 trucks, even more. But they're good quality, well cast, flexible plastic trucks that I can drop my wheel sets, metal wheel sets into, and they roll freely and everything else. So, but I just was surprised with the Eve Model company's products, because they're just a step, even though they're made in China, they're much higher quality than some of the other stuff that we might get on Amazon out of China for our trains. Let's see, do I have? Yeah. Yeah, here's one of them right here. And the detail on the sides is good. The material, that's too small, and my camera's not going to focus on it at all. It's focusing on my face. Anyway, so Eve Model, if you see that name, I think you have a fair chance of getting something that's better quality than other aftermarket parts.
Yeah, they seem to have a bunch of parts. If you look up Eve Model, they seem to be kind of an aggregator of Chinese parts or manufacturer aggregator.
Right.
Now, speaking of Chinese manufacturing, at the moment, I'm trying to resolder the connections on a plug that goes to the locomotive, and I'm finding it's almost impossible to keep. They're so close together that the solder just automatically gets flown over.
Yeah, that. This is one of those little tiny pin connectors with the pins only 1/10 of an inch apart.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a job calculated to make you mean. I try to pre-tin the pin and pre-tin the wire, and as you say, you've got the part in the vise, and you can set that down. But then trying to control the wire so it doesn't dance around and bridge everything can be difficult.
You need one of those two-handed clamp things so both of them are held in place, and then you hold the soldering iron and the solder, and you need a super fine tip soldering iron to do that. It's not going to be one of those Weller 50 amp jobs.
Yeah, fine tips certainly do help.
They're super yeah.
Yeah, well, that looks good. That looks like that would work, but yeah. But maybe trying to hold both things rather than, because you'd be moving the wire too much if you held it in your hands.
Yeah, I've run into that too. It's hard.
When I have been trying it, I had the wire in a closed tweezers that's held firmly in another device, but it still can't get those wires to the solder not to go too far over. It's like they make these with a machine. They don't.
Yeah.
And you can't replicate
So I have an idea. Use a small piece of
to replace the whole plug.
I have an idea. Use a small piece of solid core wire and heat the wire and touch the wire to the place where you need to go. And then but then it's going to drop as soon as you heat that again. So I don't know. I was thinking that if you could try to get something to it that was solid core where you heated the wire instead of you bring a hot joint into it.
Yeah.
Many of the pin connectors that we deal with on 10th inch and closer centers are actually designed to be inserted into circuit boards, right? You've got all the little holes in the circuit board and you push the thing in and solder it, and that works, far better. But our little thing of trying to put loose wires onto these closely located pins is always a stinker. I can do it, but it never looks any good. It always looks messy. That's one of our challenges.
I don't care if it looked messy. I just want it to work.
Yeah. Now,
Good luck. That's hard.
there is one workaround, Ken, which is if you have is it a 2-pin connector?
I have what I need. I have a 2-pin, and I also have this is part of a Bachmann tender connection, which consists of a 4-pin and a 2-pin.
Right.
This is on the 4-pin side.
Yeah.
To connect the motor leads and the lighting lead to the locomotive from the tender. Now this is the tender side. It's nothing to go into detail on here, but it's just been a frustrating week trying to get it to happen, and every time I've gone back and looked, and there's wire, the solder's overflowed. I'm actually thinking about cutting off the Bachmann connectors and going to some I think parts that are a 4-pin and a 2-pin and replacing the whole thing.
Yeah.
This may not be a useful idea, but if you get very small metal tubing, like brass tubing that is real thin wall and small, that you can slip over the pin, crimp it on the pin, slip the wire into the tube, and then solder that. That might, emphasis might help, except when you say it's on a tender, I know how little room there is to add any length to it. So now that I think about it, forget that idea. That
No, it
won't
could be,
work.
that could be an 1/8 inch long. That doesn't have to be a long piece of, it doesn't have to be like a 2-inch piece of thin walled tubing.
Yeah, yeah.
So that's
It's
not
just
a, yeah, I'll just say that this sounds like an illustration of the help that we were talking about that NMRA members give each other. Nobody's holding Ken's soldering iron for him, but Ken has plenty of people leaning into this with ideas, trying to help him out and sympathizing at the very least.
yeah.
Well, I joined. Anyway, I've got some other ways that I'm going to go around it now. It's been the week of frustration trying to get this going because it's holding up my further work with our friend last week's Loco-Fi installation for Steam.
Oh yeah.
In regards to Bachmann locomotives, by the way, I got a Vanderbilt tender to go with the consolidation I have, to sort of try to move it over more to looking like Southern Pacific consolidation. It isn't a beam counter or rivet counter will immediately spot that it's not right, but it's closer. But I was dealing with those connectors you mentioned, Ken, and they are a stinker to work with. Yeah. And the real surprise was I didn't do a thorough check on the tender after cramming the DCC decoder into it and a keep alive. I ran it and it was dancing over the switches, and then I realized, oops, I hadn't checked the gauge of the wheels. And the Bachmann Vanderbilt tender I got, the wheels were narrow gauged by quite a bit, and so they were hanging up on the guardrails. So I had to re-gauge the wheels on the dang tender. And it's one of those rolling stock check-in things that I skipped. I do a clinic on rolling stock reliability, and it's just, you just miss a step and you get caught.
I have one of the smaller Vanderbilt tenders that came miswired from Bachmann.
Oh, duh.
I've never gotten it to work correctly. But what I also now have acquired a brass extra sunset tender, and what I'm going to do is take the Bachmann tender, stick it in the roundhouse sticking out as if there were an engine on the other end, and you see the tender back.
Good. Yeah, the odd pieces of rolling stock can end up doing different jobs than just running around the layout. I got a 50-foot flat car that's really crummy, but I realized if I stripped it at some point in the future layout, what it's going to be is where you'll see this in the back country where somebody has a bridge over a creek and it's an old railroad flat car. So that's how I'm going to put that car to work is somewhere on the future layout to do that.
Yeah.
So if you guys are okay, I'm going to share my screen for just a moment. I put this in the chat and I will put it in an email here fairly quickly going out. But this is up on this is what's up on the chat. So you just go in here, put your name in, your email, and pick the shift you're going to work on the 9th and the 10th. And that way I'll be able to have them really easily to get it. So if you just click on that link in the chat, it'll take you up there. It'll take about 30 seconds to fill it out. So
let me share my screen with something here, Bill.
sure, go for it.
So this is a project that's been about 4 years in the making. You guys see the elevator company. This is the animated elevator that I did quite some time ago. And this is on Ted Stevens' layout. And we've been trying to find a place to put the darn thing because it's kind of big and tall. And it's been sitting in this corner behind the roundhouse for I don't know, a couple of years because you got to cut a big hole to drop it in and getting nervous about actually cutting the hole and making it happen. So last week we made the executive decision to actually drop it in place. So, Phil, how do you get the cursor to come up?
Your
Uh,
cursor's on the screen.
Oh,
Your
you see it?
cursor's there. Yeah, we can see
Okay.
it.
So we had to cut this is actually a 5-sided hole that we had to cut in the existing scenery to make it fit. And actually kind of dropped in and came out pretty good. And you know how these projects kind of grow. So this is the boiler house for the roundhouse. And this is a coal grate. And this has been the boiler track coming in for the hopper cars, but it never really made sense. There wasn't really a good place to have a coal drop. So we had this. This actually came from Howard Lloyd's estate as part of a diorama. And we decided to drop it in over here, which was, fun cutting all this stuff in existing layouts with, finished scenery all around. And this curved track, now it becomes a straight track through here. And this boiler house sits over here. So the hoppers go between the boiler house and the roundhouse, which it just looks good. It's kind of a good prototype kind of scene because there's also a cooling tower that sits over here in this space now. So this has kind of been the project from last week. And actually, it actually cut in pretty well. I was really worried about things shaking and vibrating and falling apart. And between a circular saw, a jigsaw, and a sawzall, and a little bit of rasping, it all came in pretty well.
Now, the new Graves Elevator Company here, is that a rail-served industry? I see two what look like loading doors there in the side facing us.
Okay, so it's rail served in the back.
Ah, okay.
You can see this track here,
Mm-hmm.
but you can't get to that track. So what we're doing is modeling as an abandoned track. And there's two fine scale miniature buildings that sit over here that also have loading docks in the back. And the story is that the track got abandoned because the trucks are servicing them now.
Right.
And this hole in the front is a fine scale miniature water tank, or I'm sorry, hand car kind of thing. So that's my project.
I can imagine how scary it is to saw in that what looks like 3/4 inch plywood with all that scenery around.
Yeah, I did most of it plunge cutting with a circular saw.
Oh,
It had somebody else holding a vacuum on the exhaust port, and it really didn't make much of a mess at all.
nice work. It'll be fun to see that elevator going up and down.
Yeah, I had it at the last meet.
Yeah, that's where I saw it first time.
Yeah. And there's some other projects in the works, but I'm not ready to talk about those yet.
If you told us, you'd have to kill us.
You got it.
By the way, guys, Larry already replied to that. And I'm going to show you show you guys why we do this stuff. Oh, I got a title for him. So I was trying to I can't. I don't have the trying to show you the thing, but what it does is it gives it to you almost in a spreadsheet, but I don't have it here for this one. But so like Larry responded here, and so you can see that what we get is you get the responses, and what it does is it actually generates a spreadsheet, and I gotta click something to do that. But the nice thing is it gets the data really easy to see, and And that way I can make a list of everybody's email. I'll send everybody an email saying, this is who's going to be there. It's the time. This is how to get tickets, all that stuff, because I'll know exactly who's coming. So,
Well, I know better. I'm going to check with my spouse before I
yeah,
sign that form. So,
that's
but I'm
cool.
pretty sure we're good.
No,
So,
it's good. It's all good. This was fun day. I'm so impressed early. Just absolutely that whole building and the elevator was too cool. So
Yeah,
very
thank you.
impressed. So, oh, by the way, so this is kind of something I don't know that it will come to fruition. But Earl, something to think about. I talked to Dave. We were up there walking around in the museum, and one of those brain fart things um, hit me that we don't have any representation in the NMRA display at the museum of current railroaders, current modelers.
Hmm.
So Dave and I talked about in the room where they've got in the middle of the room where they've got the display layout. Next to it right now, there's a bench, suggesting we put there another display case that's, maybe 4 feet wide, 4.5 feet wide by about 6 feet long, and is set with shelves on two sides, and have contest winner models from the national convention and regional conventions. Let people have the option to have their model for the year after they win be displayed there at the NMRA exhibit. And that way you'd have really cool models there for people to see. You could have the name of the model or where they're located. You could have, built by Bob Smith, first place PCR regional convention, and the location. Have a little tag on each of them, so people would see that this is happening all over the country and kind of get an idea of how it's and have dates. So see, this is something that was built today by somebody.
I think it's a
So,
great idea. I've got things I can donate.
oh yeah, no, no.
In
Well,
there.
and my thought is, you just go to start going to conventions and saying, obviously the national convention next year, if we get this built next year for the summer, you just give everybody at the national convention the option to have their model displayed. If they do, you work with them to set it up, and it gets packaged up and sent up to Sacramento, and then put in this case for a year. And then at the end of the year, it gets packaged and sent back to them.
Okay,
You know,
let's talk offline. The other thing, I've got some things with some plaques. We can put the plaques in there too.
yeah,
Just
yeah. That's what I
get
mean.
people motivated too.
Exactly. We can put the plaque, and we could think about putting the model and the plaque in there. And so I was talking to Dave about it, but I thought you might be worth, it's kind of, I really like getting different people's thoughts, because a lot of times somebody comes up with a great idea. The plaques is a great idea, putting those in there.
Have some photographs or a short video that would be on a little loop somehow. I don't know.
So we're trying to do a video there. And there was a kind of a discussion about how to do something around a time saver. I thought it'd be really cool to build a time saver where you actually could automate the process. I got through all the thoughts of how to do that, right? So you could make the turnouts with push buttons. You could have sensors that were essentially block sensors that would sense where the cars were. It would count, if a car went too far, stop the layout, and if there was an error condition, that kind of thing. I got through all that about how you could actually set something up and you could automate the process, somebody running the time saver on a well-built time saver, and then collect data to actually give a score. The problem I came down to, and I'm not, I just, this is a noodle right now trying to think about how to solve it, is once somebody has done it, how do you get it back to a known state to let somebody else start? And that becomes pretty much a hard issue when there are physical components. So one of the other concepts was maybe doing a video time saver. And I don't know if that's possible, if it's possible with some of these, talk to one of the companies that makes the simulation software, see if they'd be interested in working together to produce something. But maybe the idea that you get a fairly big display. There actually are some of those displays that are very long and, thin. or you take two displays, so you make something long and you put the time saver there where it's a video, and then have somebody run it. You could do a score. Yeah, just go ahead.
Uh, I was just thinking two thoughts. The first one about the display. I love the idea of the display, and I'm going to be nationalistic in a sense, and I would love, since it's the California State Museum and we're here, I'd love to have it skewed towards West Coast modelers as opposed to national modelers. And the second one is, thank you. And the second one is, if you've ever watched the time saver activity at any one of the meets, conventions, anything, it's a crowd killer. You got one person sitting down there, you got one person on the other side of the table, and that's 15 minutes. The cars are going back and forth, and nobody else has a chance because there's only one controller and that sort of stuff. And I would sort of feel, I don't mind the idea about having cars shift or be able to have a kinetic display, but to go through a time saver.
So,
if I may, on that topic,
yeah, go ahead.
The Coastal Valley Lines Club some years ago built a little switching layout, but with key differences. It wasn't a time saver. It wasn't made to be monstrously difficult. It was also where it was simplified, where there was a control on either side, which was a simple toggle switch, center off. You let go, the train stops, you push it one way or the other way to move, slow speed provided on DC, so that it was kid friendly, first of all. Secondly, we just put tags on the different little spots and had number tags on the car, like thumbtacks with things on it. And all it was move a car from here to there. It wasn't a full 15 minutes sort of thing, but just doing it for a short period of time, do a few moves, and obviously the kid was done. Okay, next. And so we're able to move a lot more people through. That was so compressive selection, if you will, selective compression, if you will, of the time saver to make it move faster and be more accessible to non-model railroaders, but we would have model railroaders and non-model railroaders try it. Those were things that we did to make it less of a crowd killer, as you put.
So David, look,
Yes, sir.
I'll show you this. I'm sharing my screen, I think. So you guys see this?
Yep.
You see these are two time savers back to back. This was a father and son that were in Sacramento. Dave said they just contacted him and said they were interested in coming.
Ooh.
I'm trying to talk to them about coming down. They're in Sacramento, coming down here for December. Because for two reasons. One, you got two time savers, so you can throw twice as many kids. Two, they were running it, which means we don't have to do it. That's selfish. But there's more. Having two time savers like that. So look at that for a moment and think about what could you do with that, which is profoundly different than the way we've ever used a time saver before.
You can show examples of how to do it.
You can have a head-to-head competition.
Oh, Lord.
So I am proposing, Earl is here. He hasn't heard this. I'm proposing doing that at the convention. You can sign up for the head-to-head time saver competition. We'll start on Thursday, and we'll have rounds on Thursday where during the breaks, there'll be a round at every break. And these guys, I talked to the kid who's doing this, and we talked about having different levels of complexity. So Thursday will be fairly easy, but it's head-to-head. And you get measured on total time. You get measured on moves. You get measured on errors where you went too far. Those count as more points. And whoever has the most points, so basically you have total time, and then you have more time added. Whoever has the least time wins the round and goes on to the Friday round. And then Saturday we have the semifinals and finals, which are harder still, may take more like 10 to 15 minutes versus 5 or 8 for the first ones. The final rounds will be right before dinner at the banquet, where everybody can cheer on for their favorite. What do you guys think?
Should the track diagrams for that precise time saver be posted ahead of time so people can study up?
It is a John Allen time saver.
But still,
it is a pure John Allen time saver.
Yeah, but some of us, frankly, don't know anymore exactly how it was set up.
We'll take a picture. We'll post it exactly. But the car configuration. So what they do, I mean, you didn't notice this. These guys were pretty good about it. I kind of watched them doing it with the kids, and they were really good. And what they did is exactly, Dave, what you said. If you kind of look here on the top of the cars, you can see that they've got, I don't know, it's a number or a letter, and then they have that on the track where it's supposed to go. So basically, they say, you got to get this car here, this car, this car. The numbers are there really well. And there was one girl who was trying to shove, trying to get into a point where she couldn't with 3 cars. And they explained, well, you can't do that with 3 cars. You can only have 2 cars there, or 1 car, or whatever. And yeah, no, it was very good. But I just saw that the 2 back to back like that. And I just had this whole thought process, because here's the problem with the time saver. The problem with the time saver is what? You put a board of scores up, and you're number 9 or you're number 14. If it's head to head and you win in the first round, well, person I lost to ended up winning everything. So I was almost there. I was really number 2. I mean, the beauty of and by the way, we could have a consolidation round if we wanted to for the
consolation
or a consolation round, kind of thing. Anyway, it was just, to me, it was this interesting thought of how do you take the time saver and make it a lot more fun versus.
And of course, what you'd have to do is on the final or the semifinal, have a video above, kind of project it on the big screen.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, that's true. That's true. And then you could have somebody commentating on the side. We could have somebody on the side. We'll get one. We'll get one of the guys who's a real railroader to come and say, "Oh, that move there by Seth. I'm not sure I would have done that."
Well, that could be fun. That could be fun.
You guys,
Joyce has her hand up.
Joyce.
Was wondering for the convention. I don't know if you all know that my band does whole sets of nothing but train songs, that we specialize in railroad songs, train songs, and we do a sing-along. And for the International Garden Railway Convention, they hired us to play at the Santa Clara Convention Center, and it was just a huge hit. We played the performance before the convention dinner. So a lot of the people were there still for the dinner. And so they had the band play. We played a 50-minute set, and then they had their dinner. And people just raved about it. It was really quite, a lot of people sang along. We passed out sheets of the words of the songs, and songs you heard as a kid, and modern day train songs. So
Casey Jones, you better watch your speed.
Lots of train songs. We do.
Yeah, that's the challenge, Joyce, is that the Garden Railroad Convention was what, 800-900 people?
Yeah.
And we're 150. I'm not sure we can afford you.
Well, we could work something out.
It's hard. It's hard.
Yeah, Joyce, I'll come over and help with track cleaning before your show for the convention. How's that?
There you go.
Because there's leaves, you guys are judges. You don't have leaves falling on you.
Oh, those leaves. That I went out. We have
the gophers.
we have a walkway that's above kind of our driveway, and there's a walkway there that gets leaves in it. And I went and I did 2 weekends, 2 days, scraped the leaves out, filled up 2 of the cans that the garbage can, the big ones they go away with. And then I walked out there last week, and there are as many leaves there as there were before I did anything.
Well, you,
And,
you
there's part of me that just says, just give up and let them win.
before you sweep, before you blow everything away, you go out and you shake all the trees. And you want your people to shake.
Beat on the trees. Hit
No,
the
you
trees.
you don't understand. This is a hill that has covered with oak trees going up, and the leaves just continually go down. And so we live in a house, and we just don't have the right way to route the leaves around the house. They kind of try to flow through our yard. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
leaves are the bane of our existence in the fall.
Yeah.
And of course, everybody has to remember you got to do your gutters now too. That's my next thing I got to do. I watch the rain, and when the first big rains come, you got to get those gutters cleaned out.
I'll make you a deal on sudden oak death.
Mm. Yep.
I'll see what I can do for you.
Oh no, I don't want that. We don't want that.
I went to Jamestown with my wife and to Columbia up in the California Gold Country. I have a few quick pictures I'd like to share for folks who
Oh,
like
absolutely.
to see that.
Go for it.
Okay. Let's see if let's see, where's the share screen? Stupid thing. Now the share screen is now hiding. Let's see, there it is. Okay, share screen. And I bet you guys can guess where I was from these pictures. Did that bring up a picture of a GE 70 tonner?
We're seeing the picture. It's a round table, and
yep, this is Jamestown.
Yeah, Jamestown. Yep.
We went up a few weeks ago. Susie and I took a couple of days off. Her brother came to care for, sit with her dad. That's why we live where we do, is to take care of him. But we got a couple of days off, and this is their turntable. That 70 tonner was dead in the water. And one of their team, one guy came in and all by himself rebuilt that thing and got it running. I think the gentleman told me it was a 2-year project for this gentleman to rebuild that thing and get it working. But they use it around their facility for moving equipment. Another fine piece of equipment. Let's see.
We should organize a trip to Jamestown. I've been meaning to go, but it'd be much more fun to go with a group of us.
Agreed.
So okay, why don't you go through your stuff, and then let's talk about that Jamestown. That's a good idea.
Okay, this is another one of their little goats that they move stuff around with in their facility. Little Plymouth switcher, and it weighs a ridiculous amount. Just underneath my arm, that's up against the Plymouth under my elbow. Do you see 2 round shapes?
Yeah, cylinders.
Those are long chunks of steel. There's a pair on each side to add more weight to the thing. It weighs, like he said, 30 tons or something ridiculous. That they added more weight to the thing. Behind you see the boiler in one of their locomotives. They're trying to get restored, maybe next year, get it back into service. The sad thing is off to my left, there's another building with a fully functional, fully rebuilt steam locomotive. The team that worked on it, according to the gentleman that was giving the tour I got, they didn't fill out the paperwork right for the Federal Railway Administration.
Oops.
And they can't run it. And he didn't know when they were going to be able to get it run. I'm not sure whether it was like photographs of the rebuild are missing or something, so that it's not easy to fix. So they have a fully functional locomotive steamer ready to go, but they're nailed on paperwork. Yeah, that was an interesting little story. Then here is my tour guide, gentleman named Earl, no relation to Mr. Gerbevan. Quite a character. And he, in his little mobility cart worked me through the entire shop facility and out to the turntable and told stories. But the amusing part was he'd go, well, da-di-da. I say, oh, yeah, it was in 1905 and they had this and that. And he goes, you already know all this stuff. That was the funny part. We were there in an afternoon, and it is after it turned out they run their trains until the end of September, and they were there, or October, and we were there like the 1st or 2nd of November. So we just missed being able to ride a train.
Are there places to stay up there that have enough space for if we had, say, 5 or 6 groups?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, there are a bunch of hotels. That was what I was going to say was, you can also do it as a day trip. I mean, if you take off, so we should talk. Let's let David go through this, man. I think that's a great idea. Go ahead, jump through it, David.
All right. Next, there, and then share screen. Here is the train we would have ridden. There in the background. Ex-military switch engine repurposed for their railroad. The cars back there, Earl, my host, told me that those 2 cars you see there are already decorated for the Halloween run that they were going to do, which says that, I'm sorry, we were there towards the front of October. I beg your pardon. The train stopped running in September. We got there just after, like the day or 2 after, in October. But the cars 2 of the cars were already decorated, he said, by the ladies, unquote, for Halloween. And there are 2 other cars that work is currently proceeding on getting them decorated for their Christmas train. So they're definitely, still running holiday trains, special holiday trains, even if the regular weekend tourist service is no longer going. Side note, the line is still being operated as a commercial line. There's up in Sonora, there's a big lumber facility and I think a gravel facility, building materials facility, that are served by the railroad that starts in Oakdale, Sierra Pacific Railroad, I think it is. So there is continuing to be regular service on this line, and the museum has trackage rights for a short stretch, not a very long run, 2 or 3 miles, I think, running downhill. And so Jamestown is still up and running. I just happened to catch it at a very, very quiet time and got my own personal tour by Earl. But I think getting there in season when trains are running and stuff would be a hoot. And maybe next year they will have one of their steam trains running. But that's a quick look at what Jamestown looks like in the quiet season.
Yeah, Joyce. So, we could do one of 2 things. We could do an overnight, but the other thing we could do is we could plan on, if you leave the Bay Area at 8, you can drive up there. It's about an hour and 40 minutes or so, hour and 40, something like that, to get up there. It's not that bad. I've driven up there on a day trip, to go up to the West Side Reunion. That's up there, and so they do that up there. And then John Zach does operating sessions on his Sierra Railroad, and he's in Twain Harte, which is farther up above Jamestown. You go past Jamestown to go up to Twain Harte. And I've done that as day trips a lot of times. If you get together and commute, and what we do is meet out here in Pleasanton, because everybody has to go, you all go on 580 to go out that way. So you meet somewhere in Livermore at a parking lot, leave 2 cars or 3 cars, and carpool with 4 people out there. It's, and you can stop somewhere along the way and get something to eat. There was a really good, we had a really good restaurant we stopped at one time, with a Yelp restaurant I found somewhere right in the middle. We decided what we should do is, drive halfway and eat. And it was one of those towns, but I've got that was really good. So,
I would stay overnight myself. That's more driving that I like to do in a day. Plus, if there was a layout tour or something, that could be where you did the museum one day and a layout tour or
Right,
something
right.
the next. But still, it was a fun trip and beautiful country and trains. Looks
Yep.
like folks are heading out here. Earl
Yep,
just
think
pulled the
so.
ripcord.
Well, so I think that's something, between us guys for next year with the convention coming, we're probably not going to have another separate event next year. We'll probably do the auction right after the convention as a separate thing. But in the first half of the year, I don't know that we'll do something before April in the convention. Just because timing wise, I don't know
Yeah.
we'll
Put
have
it in the
enough.
back. Put it in the back part of the summertime.
But that could be something to do later in the year. Anyway, everybody have a great week.
All
We'll
right.
see everybody next week.
Take care,
Or
fellas.
no, 2 weeks.
2
Bye now.
weeks. Okay. Bye-bye.